Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm a counsellor with the Listening Ear Counselling Service for young people and teenagers. I'm also the administrator and the manager in association with Lag Bible.
So today I'm joined by Julia at the Listening Ear. Thank you very much for joining us, Julia.
You're very welcome, Ben.
I'm going to start with a question. What's the most interesting fact you know about mental health that not many people know?
That it is a disease. It's not something that you willingly have. It's something that comes from something that's happened to you in your life. And it can be just low mood and ordinary depression, or it can go into clinical depression, and that usually comes from actually having some big event that was really, really bad that's happened to you.
Would you say that people are comfortable talking about mental health?
No, definitely not. And I feel that goes back from years and years ago, when it really was a taboo subject, and people were thrown into asylum if they were found or someone believed that they were mentally ill. They didn't have a clue how to deal with it, so they would just throw them into these asylums and they'd never basically be seen again. And I think that's where the taboo started.
Has it got better?
Slightly, but I think many people still find it very difficult to accept the fact themselves that they've got a mental health problem, and they will subconsciously hide it from themselves. And I think especially male, they have been groomed from a very early age to man up. And, you know, men don't cry, men don't have those sort of feelings that can come from mental illness. And I think that the Royals have done a great job in bringing this to the fore about mental health, from the young Royals speaking about it.
Earlier on we were talking anorexia.
Anorexia.
Yes, and from personal experience, I didn't know that it was a mental illness. Do you think that there are any others out there that people wouldn't consider a mental illness?
Lots, absolutely lots. There's so many different forms of mental illness and so many different eating disorders. And people don't realise that it is actually an illness. It's not just because you decide not to eat, or you're going to eat and then throw it all up afterwards. It is because it is an actual illness, and it's a form of self-harm which comes from low self-esteem.
Again, I wouldn't want this question to come across ignorant at all, but self-harming, does that fall under mental illness then?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How so?
Well, because the person who is suffering doesn't know how to get help for themselves or want to get help for themselves at this point. And to relieve the pain that they're feeling inside, they will use some form of self-harm. And of course, the ultimate self-harm is suicide.
So, in regards to young people growing up where I guess mental health is being more recognised, would you say that it's improving, I guess, in the academic system? And is there places where where young people can go to find out more?
Well, it's certainly improved to some extent. In schools for younger people and secondary schools, there are now pastoral care workers, and they often pick up the fact that a child is so low that they need some help with their mental health, and they will refer to an agency for counselling for them.
When I was speaking with you on the phone yesterday, we were on about sort of your sort of niche when it comes to your practice. You were saying about how people are affected with, I guess, family abuse, some quite delicate subjects in there. Would you be able to elaborate on that, on what you do as your niche? Does that make sense?
What we do to help people who have been sexually or physically abused.
Yes.
We offer counselling, and it's very important for those people to have counselling because it can affect them for the rest of their lives. So I think it's really important that you let them know that they're in no way to blame for what has happened to them, and this enables them to move forward.
Would you say that it's quite a common thing that people come in from sexual abuse to come get help? Is it quite a common thing?
I think people are going to get help more now than they would before, because the awareness has been brought forward. Before, people would be too ashamed to admit that they'd had some form of sexual abuse or rape. And the same with physical abuse, because they may still love the perpetrator.
I'm sure that makes it very, very hard, to approach that sort of situation. So what do you think the effect of social media has on mental health?
I think it's had a very big impact. Young people go on to social media when they go home, and if they've got any problems, the problems can follow them home because of the social media. People who aren't very nice to you during the day, when we didn't have social media, you could go home and you were safe in your home. But now it follows you, because young people seem, although this happens to them, they still feel that they have to go onto social media, and so they're not helping themselves. They isolate themselves in their room all evening on social media and can get bullied, and goodness knows what can go on. And parents have no idea about what it is, and this is why I feel very strongly about, certainly for the younger people, social media shouldn't be allowed to happen in their rooms. They should be allowed to use them in the family rooms, and certainly not to take their mobiles or whatever they use to bed with them, which many young people do.
I take my phone to bed. Sometimes I feel that I should stop looking at social media because it upsets me some of the time.
I know.
Yes. So you touched on bullying. So cyberbullying has a big part to play in mental illness then.
Yes.
I guess in the sense of not having that safe haven of home.
That's right.
Because it travels right back in.
It does, and there's nowhere safe to go if they won't come off their devices and actually, be present in the family home. We see it all the time when we go out to restaurants. People aren't communicating anymore.
No.
They're just playing on their phones the whole of the time, and conversation is dead.
I totally agree with that. I've given myself a habit of so your iPhone now can track how many minutes or hours you're on your phone, and I limit myself to, I think it's an hour and a half a day. I go past it the majority of the time, but I try my best to try and avoid it. So on social media there's a lot of image. So when I mean image, in the sense of the perfect body, I guess, and the perfect sort of like role models, the Kardashians, I guess, would be a good example
of this.
I guess it wouldn't even be just social media, it would be magazines as well. Does that have a part to play, I guess, in mental health?
Yes, I feel it can, especially with young girls, because they will associate themselves and feel that they need to look like all these famous people. But the other dangerous thing about being on social media is the fact that you don't know who you're speaking to. Young people can get drawn into something that they have no idea who the person is that they're talking to, and this is being shown a lot more on television now, which is a really good thing because it's bringing to the fore the fact that young people can be duped so easily. And the worst thing is when a young person strips off and will send photographs to the person that they think they're talking about, that they may feel they're madly in love with, and it can be, quite a sordid perpetrator.
I'm really sorry, Jimmy, I blanked again. Anorexia. I don't quite know what to ask about that. I haven't finalised my questions.
It's very prevalent in young girls who are
Sure. Okay. So would you say that it has particularly an effect on anorexia?
No, I wouldn't say it has a particular effect. I think it can. Maybe someone who is a bit inclined to feel that way and be very unhappy with their body image to start to either be anorexic or bulimic. But I don't think that in itself, if the person was a confident person, so it's all down to self-esteem and how the young person feels about themselves.
I'm curious, this is one for, I guess, my personal books, but also the good footage as well. How would you say that anorexia kind of develops? How does it start?
Well, it can start for many different reasons, just like I've said, the fact that they don't like their body image, the image they see, not the image that other people see.
I'm really sorry, I blanked again. It's a lot of information.
Wrap up everything, everything you've talked about.
I'll do all of that on a separate take at the end.
Oh, really?
It's just a lot easier for editing.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, cut the cameras one more time. I'm going to have one more scout through my list.
Yeah, one more question.
And then. So, what would you recommend to someone that feels they have a mental illness that wants to, I guess, address the situation?
I think a good place to start is with their GP, because the GP can tell them about all the help that is available, or they can just Google it. I know that can be sometimes, more unproductive than productive, but they can find out about local counsellors in the area and organisations that can help with mental health. And also, if they're feeling in a bit of a crisis, then just to give the Samaritans a call, because you don't have to be considering taking your own life to speak to the Samaritans, and they will listen and guide you for as long as you need.